Hello, everybody. It's Isaac from the Great Lakes. And this evening, we're going to be talking about serpents and thunderbirds. For the next 4 days, I will be doing little Facebook Lives and talking about serpents and, of course, thunderbirds. You can't really talk about serpents without talking about thunderbirds. They kind of go hand in hand. It's almost like you can't really talk about a buffalo hunter without talking about a buffalo. The reason why I wanted to talk about serpents is because I remember years ago, the elders would gather together and they would have ceremonies at the river and, of course, at the different lakes. And they would make this offering, Zanba Matiguun Sak, they used to call it, which was ribbons and sticks. And they'd make these offerings to the serpents inside the rivers and the lakes. They say that there's a tunnel system that zigzags across the land underneath the ground. And in this tunnel system, that's where the serpents and the underwater beings, where they travel. And there's tunnels under there. And of course, where these tunnels come up into the lakes, that's where our people would make those offerings. You know, most of us have heard about the stories of these tunnels that go underneath. Wherever that tunnel came up, you know, that was a very sacred place for our people. We would fast there for knowledge because we know that there's something down below, something very powerful. The serpent was often called upon during times of war, famine, disease, and it was called upon so that we could have good health and be protected. And, you know, during the No DAPL and during this whole anti-pipeline movement, there's often a lot of talking about, you know, kill the black snake and all this stuff. As an Anishinaabe, you know, I was raised to believe different. Every culture has its own way of thinking and believing, and it's all a piece of the puzzle. For the Anishinaabe in my region, we believe that the serpent is a very powerful being, and that as humans, as two-legged people, you know, we'd never be able to kill something like that. The power that's down there is very critical for the balance of this earth. When the thunderbirds and the serpents, when they fight, when they feed off each other, you know, great medicine get cast across the land, and we get our life from that. The same way that a buffalo hunter has a special relationship with a buffalo. Together, their hearts are connected, their minds. But yet, at the same time, the buffalo hunter will kill the buffalo. And sometimes the buffalo will kill the Indian. You know, so it's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of a relationship. And so it was this time of year when we made our offerings to those serpents so that, you know, our children could be safe in the waters, so that our families were out living their lives on the land. When we made those petitions, they would be looked after. And so parts of our clothes, our garments, I don't even know if garment is a word. But it sounds like it could be a word, a garment. But a piece of our clothes would be offered with that bundle so that, you know, they would know that a present was offered on their behalf. And so we take all of our little pieces of clothes from our children and our babies, you know, and all of our people and our family, and that would be put into that bundle and with offerings of tobacco. That was very, very important. That's part of our natural laws. That's how we govern ourselves in the forest, is by making those offerings so that we can live in a land of spirits. You know, it's very odd to me when we say, this is my traditional territory, this is mine. You know, when we used to trap, we knew that the spirits lived out there. The Memegwesiwak, the Chikanebek, you know, the thunderers, the different spirits that lived out there. They all had their own homes. And we knew that we were only a part of their home. And, you know, so it's very odd for me to think that this land is only mine as a human being. It's not. So part of the governance is our offerings. We give offerings all the time. Oh, the Mimigwesiwak live there. The serpents live here. Thunderbirds have a nest up there. All the time we're giving to the land, giving to the spirits that are out there. And, it's a beautiful life. That's how we're able to restore the balance of what we take, is through our offerings. And of course, there is consequences when you didn't do that. There is consequences when you didn't get out there. And, if you're trying to be cheap or stingy, and not give your offerings to these things, sometimes, there is a price to pay. This land, it lives on the generosity of everything. The rules, I guess, or the natural laws that the land have is generosity. So if we keep taking, and we don't give anything back, well, then guess what? We can expect probably some hard times. And so tonight, I'm going to tell you a story about the serpent. They say that the serpent is 40 feet long. It's got little arms and legs. It's got horns sticking out of his head, or her head, or their head. And the bones of the serpent is made out of copper. They say that. They live in families. Just today I spoke to an amazing friend of mine in Chippewa, the Thames First Nation. And I was so curious about a serpent story because apparently he's seen a serpent. And so I'm like right on him, like white on rice. I'm like, you gotta tell me this, what happened? Tell me everything. And he told me about what he's seen. And his face, it went real pale when he talked about it because he was very scared. It's a natural reaction that we're supposed to have if we see a serpent. There should be a level of fear and a level of, oh my God, right? So tonight I'm going to tell you a story of when the serpent came to the Nishnabek and what happened. They say that years ago, there was a young boy, little Nishnabé. They went to go put him on a sacred fast, a vision quest, at a place called Skodeng. Fire, the place of fire is what that island is called. They put him out to fast there so that he could get his vision and get his power. And during his fast, something happened. The people that were going to put him out, they were told spiritually by something, you have to leave him there. That boy has great power and he can make his way back. Don't go get him. So that little boy, he's only like 12 years old. He was left on that island, Skodeng, by himself. And they were told, don't go back and get him. So he sat there day after day after day. No food, no water, nothing. He was just instructed to pray for his vision. So that's what he did. Finally, he got so thirsty and just so dehydrated, his face is just sucked right in. He was ready. He was ready to do whatever he could to get off the island. And they say that he got up, he left his spot because he knew something was wrong. And he walked to the shoreline, looking at the mainland, just staring at it, wondering why his people left. So he spent the night there. There's a little beach there. I was actually there. No, I wasn't the little boy. But I went there because I was fascinated by the story. So anyway, the little boy goes to the beach. He sleeps on the beach. And that night, he had a dream. Not only a dream, but he had a prophecy of what was going to happen. Onwiwichigan. He seen the future in his dream. And in his dream, he looked into the sand and he seen a little tail, a little black tail sticking out of the sand. It was moving around. And he kept staring at it. And all of a sudden, that little tail, it started to get bigger. And the sand started to move around and around. He just kept staring at it in his dream. All of a sudden, a little snake emerged. A little tiny black snake. And that snake told him, when you wake up in the morning, I want you to come look in the sand. Put some tobacco there. Where you put that tobacco, I'll come for it. And you will see the sand start turning around. And I'll see you there. The boy just woke up, and of course the sun was just coming up. That's a very powerful time of the day. The sun was just coming up, and right away he started to look in that sand. He put his sema there, his tobacco, just like he was instructed in the dream. He sat there for a long time and stared at that sand. Nothing happened. It didn't start to twirl around like he thought. So he closed his eyes and he spoke to that ground underneath. He said, I'm here. I'm the little boy you spoke to last night. I'm here. I'm going to die here. I need your help. Please come to me. All of a sudden, that sand, it started to move around just very slowly. All of a sudden, he could see that little tail come out, just like in his dream. He couldn't believe it. That thing just started going around and around and around. Finally, a little black snake, little tiny black Murdoch, came out of the sand. And that little black snake looked at him, started to talk to him, and told him, I heard you. You put your tobacco down. I'm here. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to pray for your people, because hard times are coming. As you pray, the harder you pray, the more that I'll grow. The more that you pray for your people, the bigger that I'll get. So that's what that boy did. He started to pray and pray and pray for his people, for the hard times that were going to come. And that serpent, it started to grow. It got real big. He didn't even know how big it was because his eyes were closed. When he opened his eyes, there was a great big serpent laying on the beach, 40 feet long, great big horns. Those horns are very powerful. They represent knowledge. That serpent looked at that boy and said, I'm very proud of you. I will take you back home. Jump on my back. Hold on to my horns. And I'll take you across to Niashing, the point. So of course the little boy jumped on that serpent's back, held on to those horns, and the serpent took him across to Niashing, dropped the boy off and said, I'm Ginebek. I am the snake. I am the guardian of these waters. When you gave your tobacco to me, it made me feel good. Always know that I'm here. Always know that I'm watching. And drop the boy off. That boy, because he was holding on to those horns, when he was going across that water, the knowledge came through those horns and into his own body. The knowledge from that serpent went inside of him. And he became a very, very powerful medicine man because he held on to those horns. You know, that little boy went to that rock that was there at the point, and he grabbed some onaman, that red paint that's used to mark our visions on the rocks. He grabbed that red paint and he painted that serpent on there. Of course, to commemorate the transaction that took place between the two-legged and the great serpent. Of course, that boy grew up to be a very powerful leader because he held on to those horns. Now they call that place Ginabek Serpent's Point, or Chiganabek, the Big Snake Point. And of course, years later, our people were still going to that very sacred place, and they were making their offerings there. They were putting their tobacco there, because when that serpent dropped that boy off, it went down that tunnel again, right there at that point. So naturally, our people would go there. When the Nadoak, when the enemies would come, they would go there and make their petitions so that they could protect their families. For years and years and years after our people went there, they made their offerings. Zanmabitigo and Suck, the ribbons and the sticks. But then something happened. The year was 1952. It happened at Chiganabek. The church, the Catholic Church, ordered that those pictographs, those sacred Mazanabiaganan, those paintings that were on those rocks, they ordered them to be destroyed. And they went to that site where those pictures were, and they went there with dynamite. Frickin' dynamite! And they blew them up so that our people would not worship there, so that our people wouldn't get the strength from those powerful underground beings, because they wanted them to be weak so that they could kill them and steal their land. But there was an old man in the village, in my village. His name was Goegum. He went there after they blew it up. And he went there with a little chisel, and he chiseled that serpent back into that rock. And he prayed for his people. He remembered the story about what that boy went through. And he made his offerings there at that place, and it's still there today. So despite the fact that the church tried to destroy our relationship with the natural world and with the spirit world, our people are strong and they're very resilient. And we remember the stories. We remember what happened on our lands. They will never be able to take that away from our heart. It's inside of us. I just wanted to share that with you. They say that the serpents, their eggs are underneath the ground. That's where their babies are, their eggs. They said that the Jaganash, they said the white man is going to want that to have those eggs so they can have that power for themselves. If they go down and get those eggs and bring that power up, it's going to be too strong for us and it can destroy the earth. We're seeing that today. Do you know what? I believe that it's through our offerings and through our good manners and our generosity with the spirits of this land and each other that we can survive whatever comes. So with that, I want to thank you. It's been a great honor to be able to speak here in this parking lot. And I want everybody to have a good night. Tomorrow, I will be doing Serpents 2, Part 2. So join me. Have a great evening. And remember, water bundles, water offerings, it's time. This is the time of year, so get out there with your families. Nahaw, miigwech, bamapi, guapmen. Nahaw. See you.